did it. It's the 40th year.
Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary of Sweeney Todd. I mean, the very first production of it was on Broadway in 1979. So 40 years ago, audiences on Broadway got to meet the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And so many productions have been produced and staged all over the world. And I think it's also been translated in different languages. And it's fantastic that Atlantis' 20th season, 20th anniversary, it coincides with Sweeney Todd's 40th. So this became the company's season ender, and I'm so happy that in just a little over a week, audiences in Manila will get to meet these people, and they're despicable people, but so much fun to play.
You're gonna play the character of Mrs. Lovett.
Mrs. Lovett.
Can you tell us something about yung character?
Well, Mrs. Lovett actually owns a small meat pie shop. Parang glorified empanada yung mga ginagawa niya. So it's like a meat pie. Like a chicken pot pie, things like that. So that's what she makes. But times are hard at this part of history in England, and she's not able to make delicious pies at all. As in, you have to have strong teeth in order to bite down. It's just crusting and lard and walang laman, bale, her pies. And then she hits upon the idea to start using the meat of people to use the pies. So Sweeney starts to kill people, and then she bakes the bodies into pies. That's not a spoiler. There's not a spoiler. I mean, if you can watch the movie, there are bootlegs, I think, of previous productions. It's a well-known, 40 years pa naman. I mean, you can't conceal any part of it anymore. So she hits upon this idea, and then how prosperity changes her, but for the longest time, she's also obsessively in love with Sweeney. And so there are so many points in the story and in the script where we get to see that, and playing somebody obsessively in love with this man. It's been interesting to play and a lot of fun. And I've had to do a little bit of research, watching a few movies where there is a female character that's obsessed with a man. I mean, things like Fatal Attraction, things like Misery. So it's like those were really eye-opening and amazing inspirations to draw from for this.
How does it feel working with Mr. Japan in this?
Oh my God, his voice is so unique. As in, I've never heard anybody sing like him, and I've traveled the world. I've not heard anyone that sings even close to that. It's a very unique instrument, and it's one that is perfect for this score. And he uses he uses that full range and texture and sound that he produces so effectively as Sweeney, and he is terrifying. There is one song that he does called Epiphany, which is the second to the last song in the first half, and it's when Sweeney starts to realize that yes, he is going to get his revenge, but he's going to start killing a lot of people. And he says things to the effect that not even how many throats that I slash will be able to make me feel like I've avenged my wife and my daughter. So there's that. So you see him transform into this bloodthirsty human. And I get to be maybe 5 feet away from him as it's happening and watching him as dictated by the script. So I get to just sit there and be a Jet Banghan fan for 2 or 3 minutes, and just, but while still in character, appreciate what this actor is able to do and the emotions he's able to portray and the voice that comes out of that body. It's just, I'm like, I am lucky that he's looking at me with those demented eyes. I'm extremely fortunate to get to work with him. And Bobby and I were trying to figure out who to cast for this when we were having initial discussions, and we both said, you know what, there's no one else that can do this but him.
Miss Lea, kasi ginawa na rin ito sa Hollywood ang ginagawa pa rin siya ni Johnny Depp, right?
Johnny Depp did it in the movie with Helena Bonham Carter.
Pareho lang ito ba may mga pagkakaiba ba?
I mean, there are things that had to be edited out for the film, because how film is structured versus how theater is structured, there will be differences naman talaga in how things are executed. So we're sticking to how has always been done theatrically, as far as the sequence of how scenes go. And there are things that work amazingly for the film, but there are things that can only work amazingly for the musical on stage. So we're doing it how it is normally done on stage. But I've seen I've seen a couple of productions of Sweeney, and I mean ours is going to be radically different, but it still follows the rules that Sweeney lays out.
Recently kasi nag-post sa Instagram mo regarding po sa mga parents sa pag manonood po ng mga play.
Yeah, kasi here's and it actually came up in the press con today na parang, do you think fans are gonna hate you because you're playing a villain, you're playing a bad person? I mean, this is not the first time I'm playing somebody who's flawed and terrible, you know, but this is the first time I get to play a villain. But I mean, I don't want to think that my fans are stupid, and I don't think that they are. And I think that they're going to be able to separate me as a person from the character that I'm going to play. And I do a lot of musical theater, and I'm not always going to be the pretty girl with the pretty songs and the one with the happy ending that gets her prince. And you know, I'm 48. I'm like, I'll leave that to the 24-year-olds to do. But now it's nice to be able to do interesting, to play interesting human beings, to step into the shoes of someone who would do these heinous things. And then, you know, and it was said by one of the guys in the cast, everybody has a dark side, no exception. So, given what this is, I mean, just do your research na lang before you think of buying tickets. A couple of my daughter's classmates, the parents, already knew going in because they know the show. So they knew going in na this is SWEENEY TODD. We're not going to bring the kids. We already know. We already know what this is. This is not meant for small children. So even if I'm in a show, doesn't mean that it's going to be a wholesome show. Fun Home is a perfect example. God of Carnage is another example. There were people that brought their 7-year-olds to God of Carnage, and we're there making mura up and down like crazy. Like every swear word in the English language, we had to say as it dictated in the script. So I urge audiences to do your research on the shows you want to see to make sure that it is appropriate for your children if you plan to bring your kids. This one, like my 13-year-old refuses to see this. So yeah, you have to police. You have to police for the sake of your kids. You don't want to traumatize them with this show.
I know you're so busy right now. Buti na pagsasabi niyo po sa The Voice.
Well, actually, The Voice, everything is already taped.
Okay.
Up until grand finals, which takes place the weekend after we close. So, exacto. So, tapos na. Everything up until semifinals has already been recorded and taped, and so it's in the can. So all I have to do is concentrate on this. So it's only on air na it only looks like I'm doing two things at the same time, but I'm only doing this.
Mahigpit bang labanan niya yan sa mga...
So The Voice, the kids are ridiculous. The kids are so amazing this season. And the thing about a season 2, season 3, season 4, dahil napanood na nila yung previous seasons, alam na nila kung ano yung magiging demands or requirements. So nakikita din nila na, and also the parents I think are a little more discerning na kaya ng anak ko to kasi the emotional stress it's high on families, on the kids, on the parents. It's a lot. It's a lot to put your child through. So, you know, I really have to admire the parents and also the children. And these are ambitious kids na sila mismo. Hindi yung magulang lang yung may gusto dito. It's yeah, kasi we've had a contestant yata on The Voice battle round or something, and then we're hearing na parang she is so scared to lose because of what will happen, because of what her mother will do to her. So I was like, yeah, but that cannot be used to justify her getting past this stage. Because if the other person is better than her, it won't be fair. So it's like it's navigating those things, and at the end of the day, it's like the coach's integrity and the show's integrity also needs to be maintained. So it's like what we can do is just do the best we can for this kid. But you know, so parents cannot use their children to fulfill their own ambitions via a show like this.
Pero as a judge po, sa inyo, is it harder now? Especially sa battle na mamimili kung sino yun?
It's always hard because I mean you have an obligation to to group 3 or 4 children who are similarly skilled and talented and voiced because you want there to be a good fight. You want to see yung fighting spirit ng bata. You want to see if they're gonna buckle under pressure. You want to see if they thrive. You want to see na, oo, alam nilang bata lang to. Kung talagang magra-rise to the occasion to mga bata. Because that's the one you want to bring with you to finals. That's the one you want to have to keep going. You know, kikita mo talagang lumalaban na yung intellect, yung puso, yung emotion na parang they can take a beating and handle it with grace and aplomb and smarts and good-naturedness. Parang yun ang gusto mo. Those are the kids you want. So, mahigpit nga talaga yung mga labanan. And it's inevitable there are going to be kids and parents that will be disappointed. There are going to be fans of these children that are going to be disappointed. And we're used to being hated for not putting their favorites through. It's like, sorry, minsan ganun talaga. So, okay lang. I mean, we're used to it. We're used to, you know, hindi ko na lang binabasa kung binabash kami online na parang bakit hindi mo pinadaan yung such and such sa round na yan? Mga, ay, I have no idea what we go through. So, okay lang. Okay lang. Pang-apat na season ng The Kids na to. Pang-pitong season na to of The Voice in general. And I think we're looking to do The Voice Teens next year. So, yeah, I'm busy. And I'm having a good time.
How does it make you feel you also have a daughter who's into singing, into performing? And
It's fun. I mean, it kind of makes sense, given that I'm her parent. And I'm gonna declare, well, I'm not so much declaration, but I can already see that as an actor, she is far smarter than I was at that age. It's not just yung instinct niya, but also how she thinks of acting. And one of my best friends kind of babysat her because I had rehearsals or a show. So he took her to her acting class and then he said, oh yeah, all of the kids had to write a monologue for themselves. And she wrote a really, really good one and she delivered this monologue in front of the rest of the class. And it's just what she has to say, how she says it, may something yung sa acting, yung bata. So I'm kind of wanting to encourage her, and at the same time she also expresses, I don't want the showbiz stuff. I just want to do theater. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to have to deal with what you have to deal with sometimes. I don't like strangers coming up to me, things like that. You know, she doesn't want to have to feel the obligations of celebrity, I guess. She just wants to do the art. That's her thing. She just wants to do this, and that's it.
being surrounded like with the kids and parents, what is your takeaway? Perhaps.
I'm actually happy that the set of parents, like on this show, I mean, they're just genuinely supportive of their children. Na hindi mala stage mother na over. I'm grateful that they trust us to help coach their kids, and the coaching on it is real. Even in however short time periods we might have, we don't mess around, and we take this very seriously because they're exposed to us na eh. They see how we perform, and sometimes yung iniidolo mo, yung pinipili mo para maging coach mo dahil may something yung idol mo na gusto mo ring tularan o gusto mo ring gayahin. And so we have to be generous with these children and teach them about the stuff that we've learned. So it's parang a way that we get to pay it forward. Na parang this is how I get to say thank yous to all of my coaches and my teachers that have taught me what I know. And I'd like to think that they've trained me well. So there are so many kids that get to go through us on that show. So parang yun na lang yung magiging pasalamat ko sa lahat ng mga nagturo sa akin. So what I am today is thanks to a lot of what I've learned from so many wonderful, incredible teachers.
Lea, is Nicole gonna watch Sweeney?
She refuses. She knows the music, she's heard the music, she's heard me rehearse it at home. She went to a rehearsal and sat in a room where she was just we were just doing music. But it was getting very dramatic and emotional when she could hear what was happening. Somebody was screaming, and she's like, "I'm not watching this. I don't want to watch this." I would play the cast album in the car so that I could start hearing the music. She's like, "Mom, this is creepy. Mom, this song is really creepy. I don't think I want to see this, even if you're in it." So, like, anak, don't worry. I'm not requiring you to watch. I mean, if ever she comes to Soler, she'll be backstage. She'll stay backstage. We'll turn off the speakers in the room so that she doesn't have to deal with this. And that'll be the end of that. She loves dressing up for Halloween and likes like makeup and looking like a whole different creature. Like yes, last year she was the Phantom for Halloween. So this does not scare her because she knows it's mommy behind all that makeup. But she has a really vivid imagination. So the music frightens her. And it makes her feel na parang ayoko, baka matrigger. So for her, she's fine with skipping out. The age limit actually is 12, but that also is dependent on the maturity level of the child. If parents expose their children to action movies na duguan, malamang kaya na nila ito. But I mean, if you're somebody who's suffered, if you've been raped, if you've been sexually abused, it might be something to think about. But I mean, you do get to see the bad guy get his just desserts. So maybe that's a good thing.
Lea, before.
Just want to know you only get to release.
No naman. I mean, what people see is normally what you get. But I mean, I know what dark feelings are like. I mean, when you break up lang with a guy, it's like you have those dark, sad, depressed. You get those feelings, and sometimes you're like, stay up all night and you start to think not so wonderful things. And I think I think everybody possesses that. Buti na lang may outlet na parang nailalabas ko. And I guess I just have a vivid enough imagination, and when you watch things like Fatal Attraction and Misery, and you see what these actresses do, parang it's like, I'm gonna channel that actor for that moment in my show because Bobby requires this. So it's been a lot of fun and very liberating because if you start thinking of some of the most wrong, heinous things, he won't say no. And some of the stuff I've asked him that it's okay to try, parang it's like, yeah, see if it works. So I'm very gleeful in rehearsals, and of course I'll always warn whoever my scene partner happens to be na okay, this is what's gonna happen na para lang you're not taken by surprise. Okay.
Lea, you spent like 100 hours on Persona 5, right? Is there
So
any...
many. Well, and then after that, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I played that for like since October of last year. And then only now I stopped because there's no more DLC coming out. And then I went back to Final Fantasy 15. And then now I'm kind of completing the secondary dungeon levels. Now that I have armor that makes every character impervious to anything. So yeah, it's actually been a good way to kind of release and kind of get away from this. Like when I go home and I'm like, okay, punong-puno na yung isip ko, my brain needs a break. I sit in front of the TV, I grab my controller and I start playing, and it just makes me feel better because like, okay, erase the day. I can go to bed, no matter how violent the game is. I can go to bed, I can get some rest, and then I wake up the next day and feeling a clean slate again. So yeah, so it's been important. It's been essential to play Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed during the process of this show.
You mentioned Final Fantasy 15. Have you explored 14? Because I don't know if you've heard, but it's in the news. They actually put up a theater company inside the game, and they've been staging Shakespeare plays. Yeah,
no,
like
I
a
haven't.
bunch
I haven't,
of
and I haven't
players,
heard anything about it. So I'll have to look. I'll have to see if it's available for the console I'm on. If it is, then sige, I'll get it and I'll try it out. If not, then oh well, Too bad.
Are you more of an Xbox person?
Xbox.
Or oh, that's why.
Yeah. Because if it's in the PS, then I'll have to go to the other TV where that console is connected and then see if I can get it.
Last question for me. About the reminders ng pagdating sa theater, which I appreciate. Ano po yung sa tingin nyo nagbago na sa Pilipino pagdating sa pananood ng...
I mean, cell phones are fantastic, but sometimes you forget that sometimes it's best to put them away. And it's for an experience like this, where the immersion into the environment begins 10 minutes before the show actually starts. So there's no national, I don't think there's going to be a national anthem the minute you enter the theater, and 10 minutes before, parang on Once on the Island, like the actors will start appearing on stage and they will start exploring the environment. So first, when you sit, there's no curtain covering the set. So the minute you walk into the performance space, you'll see the set right away. So you'll already be a part of the environment. And then the actors slowly come out one by one, become a part of the environment. And then there will be a very unique way to tell people to turn their cell phones off. But there will be announcements. I will periodically put that please turn your cell phone off before you go into the space. The show is exciting. You will not want to touch your phone because there's so much happening. Guaranteed walang maboboard. Even if you don't always understand the language, because I mean our accents are really thick, we're trying to make sure that we articulate everything very clearly for the sake of the audiences. But there's a lot of stuff that happens that I think the audiences will really, really enjoy, and they really have to watch or they'll miss something.
Those kinds of reminders, marami pa ba kami aabangan sa Twitter?
I think I'm hoping that audiences take the announcements that we make seriously, and that yes, it is for you. It is not just for the person sitting beside you. I mean, I understand that there are going to be a few cases where you'll have someone who has, health issues that will need to keep their phones parang easily accessible in case they have to call an ambulance to come to the theater. And then this one friend of mine, I told her, please advise the ushers that this is your condition so that they can look out for you already and that you need your access to your phone or whatever. Meron namang mga kasong ganun eh. But for most people, please turn it off for a couple of hours. It's gonna go by so quickly. And then once the show is done, by all means, we will encourage you to talk about the show. You can tweet about it, you Instagram it. I'm sure there's gonna be stuff that you can take pictures of and that you will be allowed to photograph and share with people. We want the audiences to completely experience the show without being disturbed or distracted. Because it becomes more fun to talk about it after. When you get the full experience, and it's always fun. And the Atlantis shows are so complete in the experience. It's not just text exploration. It's the sets. It's how the sets are utilized. It's how the actors interact with the environment. It's the emotional investigation into certain pieces of material. It's the stuff that like Bobby and his design team think of, and it makes it exciting for us. So we want that excitement to be felt by the audiences 100%, without having to worry about, you know what, if you're in the they'll wait, your phone will wait.
Leia,
One last
your
question.
concerts always get sold out. I mean, I've noticed weeks before.
I'm grateful. I'm really
one.
happy.
Yeah, so my question is that, is there any chance that in your next concert you're gonna hold it for 3 days or more instead of the usual 2?
My voice can only handle so much. Because normally how I do concerts here, what happens is we do a full dress rehearsal, which feels like the first night of the concert. Then we open, which feels like the second night. And then we close. It feels like the third day. I already know for a fact that by the time I get to the very, very last encore on the third day, I will not have anything left for a fourth. So for the sake of self-preservation, I limit as much as possible two performances. And that's it. I mean, normally in the States, I'll be able to do 3 because usually rehearsals happen and then you do your first night and it's the exact same show when I'm touring around the US or the UK. There's no need for rehearsal anymore. So then I can do like 3 in a row. But for the ones in Manila, it's like full dress rehearsal with orchestra, makeup, costumes, or outfits. And then the actual shows are actually performance number 2 and 3. It's never 1 and 2.
More taxing.
So it's more taxing on me, but it's more rewarding for me to do it that way, to have a full dress, so that all of the kinks, all of the things na pwedeng mangyari na makamasira, magkamali, mga mali ko when I'm like, you know, and sometimes I'll make a mistake in the dress rehearsal, and it's like it's nice to be able to get a crack at it, to know how it feels in under performance conditions. Before we have an actual paying audience there, so that they get a show that we've ironed out super, instead of you're ironing things out performance na. And then the audience does not get the best that we can give them. So we do what I do, how I do it, because I appreciate the audience enough to give them the best show that we can give them. That's it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.